Hey guys, what's going on? It's Gunnar here. Welcome back to the channel. Today is going to be kind of a piggyback off of the last video I made with the timing of your cuts when it comes to trying to regenerate aspen or wildlife timber. Now, I was talking that this time of the year is probably not a great time to cut as it's about 55, 60 degrees right now. And we got a good rain shower. Yesterday we had a big snow melt off. So we've got a lot of moisture going into the ground right now. And looking into the 10-day forecast, it's going to be up into the high 60s and even potentially touch 70 here going into April now. But what I wanted to get across to you guys is this is what can happen when you cut these trees during dormancy, this crazy regeneration. You can see all of these new sprouting stems. All of this is nasty thick. There is a ton of regeneration happening in here. Now, it's not all aspen. I can see I've got a multiflora rose here that once I open this canopy, some of those invasives are going to take off, and there's not a lot you can do about it, but just keep them in check and be aware of that potential risk when you do open up that canopy. But this was a cutting that took place 2 years ago. Now, I was in here for a couple of years doing what I could because this was actually a fairly large aspen stand. It's not quite half an acre, but it's a substantial amount of ground, and when you have basically purely aspen in here, it takes a while to drop it all, and it's a steep side hill. Doing this stuff in the winter months, it can present a decent risk when it comes to being safe and dropping some of these big leaning trees on hillsides like this. But you can see the rewards and the benefits that come from this. I'm looking at a giant buck bed just behind the camera up here. I'll show you guys that. But right inside of all this daytime browse, the bedding, the side cover, this is excellent side cover, top third of the hill. These deer are overlooking this bottom here. But what I wanted to go over is this is what can happen when you cut these trees at the proper time. Guys, it's Gunnar. Look, a lot of you guys have been talking to me, telling me how you need help. Well, I want to talk to you today about Whitetail coaching. One-on-one virtual coaching with me. We'll go in depth on whatever problems, whatever help you need. We'll find the solution you're looking for. Shoot me a text, 608-632-7233. 608-632-7233. I got your back for life. Now let's get back to the video. Now, one of the viewers on the channel, Kevin, I've been in communication with him, and we actually had a virtual call where we went over kind of a plan that he already had drawn up through his own knowledge, and I just verified a lot of the things that he was doing, but he's actually having some aspen logged off his property. So that's gonna be taking place here in the next month or two, but stuff like that, when you're actually logging and you're physically trying to get big timber out of the areas, I'm okay with people going ahead and doing that into springtime. But sometimes when we're working with loggers, it's not always on our timeline, so we need to get these things done when we can. Going ahead and doing that for him is not the end of the world, and working with that large amount of acreage of that pure aspen stand he's taking out is something that needs to get done, because you're gonna have regeneration regardless. But at the end of the day, when the logger shows up and he's ready to start taking trees, he's got to take trees at that time. So if you do have the option, I would recommend cutting them during dormancy to get the best regeneration rate. You can see, I mean, it's filled with young aspen starting to grow here from those root suckers. But you got to get it done when you can, and that's the bottom line. But some of the benefits when it comes to going in and making these habitat improvements, this is an area that I can strategically place deer now. Now, I didn't have the opportunity to go in and plant these aspen trees. These were just naturally growing in this location, but it ended up being a really nice piece adding to this farm. When I came in here and basically clear cut this was already a nice bedding slope. I just enhanced it. And I'm strategically doing this because this is an area that I'm not necessarily coming in to hunt deer. I'm more hunting the movement of the deer from here to the food sources. Now, there's multiple areas like this on the farm, but I'm just going ahead and I'm enhancing them. I'm taking those trees that are 40, 50 feet tall that aren't producing any of that wildlife value that I'm looking for, and I'm cutting them down during dormancy, and I'm going ahead and I'm getting this regeneration that all these deer can browse on at head height and also present to them that side cover that they're looking for that security. But basically what I came in here and I did is, this is a top third of the hill right here. This is a perfect setup when I'm talking about a rut sit. I've got to stand about 100 yards up this valley right on the top of a ditch that these deer bounce over. It's a deep ditch running all the way down through here, and they're coming around on top, and they're cruising this new Regeneration for those does. I've got another pocket that I've cut just over here where I've had some hinge cutting that I did to provide that immediate side cover and open that canopy and promote that regeneration that I'm looking for. But this is a perfect barbell movement is what I'm looking at, as I'm looking at deer bedding here, traveling to the food source, the ag fields, food plots in the back, and then I'm hunting this line in between. And it makes it even better when I go ahead and I've got pressure down in this bottom. There's no good access from this bottom. When you've got pressure down there, they're naturally pushing deer up. So when I came in here and enhanced this top third with my cutting, that just makes it even better. This pressure in the bottom is already pushing deer up higher on the hill. Why not make that even better and basically create a travel corridor, bedding area to next bedding area, edge feathering all the way up to the food sources that I'm wanting the deer to travel to and hunt them on and eventually harvest them on. So that's what's so nice about this habitat improvement stuff, is we can strategically do this to tip the odds in our favor. We can't necessarily control where the species of trees are, or the good wildlife trees are, or any of this unless we're planting them. But we can develop a plan and come up with a strategic plan that when we go ahead and we make these improvements, they aren't hurting us, they're helping us. They're putting these deer in places that we want them to be. Now, this takes a lot of guesswork out of the equation for me. Is I can look at a topo map and I can know that deer are gonna be bedding in here. Now I don't have to guess as to where the deer are gonna be when I go in to hunt. I automatically know or have a pretty good idea that there's probably a group of does in here, and there's a likelihood that a buck will travel through here. So maybe that stand location on a pre-rut sit in the second week of October, going into late October, that's gonna be a pretty good option for me, because at that time the bucks are cruising heavy looking for that first doe. I wanna be hunting the does at that time. So if I can get close to a group of does, that's a high percentage sit. So all these habitat improvements that I'm going ahead and doing, and you guys can do too, it's giving me knowledge, it's giving me information before I go out there. I already have all this knowledge prior to that sit because I have all these strategic habitat improvements done. I know there's does here. I know there's potential to have a buck come through here. Depending on the time of the year, there's always potential to have a buck come through here just because of the sheer benefit with the daytime browse and the side cover here. But during a pre-rut or peak of the rut, this is a 10 out of 10 stand location right in that neck down up at the top of that bowl there. And with the pressure coming in during the best time of the year, it makes it even better because it's funneling and pushing all of these deer up into this good improved habitat. So I've got the best of all worlds right here. I've got over-mature timber in the bottom that is lacking side cover, lacking food value, lacking diversity, and I go ahead and I cut these aspen on the top edge of this ridge. I've got a natural funnel behind me pushing these deer up and around that deep ditch, and I've got low pressure, side cover, food value, and I've got a line of movement going to the high quality food sources that I'm planting in my food plots and then the ag fields. So the key to all of this habitat strategy stuff is implementing these improvements in specific locations that help you, not hurt you. If I were to go ahead and put a food plot right up here at the top and I was gonna try to hunt that, that's not a very good location because I have to come down right to the edge of the timber to hunt that food plot while there's deer sitting in here. That's not a good idea. I'm letting these deer lay here unpressured. I have plenty of room to sneak into that stand location without deer in here in this bedding area, in the high quality side cover and the daytime browse areas. I can get in there undetected and wait for these deer to transition out, whether it to be heading to this ag field or back that way. So the key is to have a plan in place prior to going ahead and doing all of this stuff, because we can't tip a tree back up. This takes years to regenerate and get back to its natural form. And if you go in and you clear cut an acre in an area that isn't ideal for you to be able to hunt deer in and around that, or it doesn't fit into the plan, into the line of movement that you're trying to create, you're hurting yourself versus helping yourself. So we need to remember that, have a good solid plan in place. We want that good line of movement that creates predictable deer during the hunting season. Good unpressured bedding areas with a lot of food value, good side cover, nice travel corridors. Now, I don't cut travel corridors, but I just manage the timber to promote that regeneration that gives deer good edge habitat traveling from bedding to food, giving them that good edge habitat, good regeneration, while providing good safety cover as they're transitioning to those food sources that I want these deer to travel to. So having that plan and understanding how this improvement fits into that is hugely important, because if we're just going willy-nilly and cutting trees here and there throughout the property, trying to improve deer habitat and trying to improve our odds for killing deer, it's not necessarily going to work as well as if you had a strategic outlined plan, understanding where the deer are probably going to be at, having a good idea of how they're going to move, how you can hunt those deer successfully using the wind, being smart, hunting it hard, but at the same time, leaving these deer feeling unpressured. So at the end of the day, that's what I wanted to show you guys, is this is what can happen when you implement a good habitat plan. You go in and you execute it at the correct time. You're gonna have awesome regeneration. Watch out when you open that canopy for those invasives. Make sure you're going in there at the proper time to eliminate those and promote that native regeneration. But I'll show you guys that bed here on the B-roll, and you'll be pretty impressed as to how dug out that is and how frequently what I think is a buck is using it. So this is what I wanted to show you. This is a whole mess of regeneration, a lot of deer habitat, great side cover, and a lot of browse for these deer in the falls to come.